Howdy there once again, YouTube. My name is Ferraiuolo, and I'm a beginner amateur seismologist who hopes to make a career out of monitoring volcanic and tectonic hazard areas. Don't forget to like this video, of course only if you actually liked it, and visit my website https://monitorsize.weebly.com. The link is below in the description box. Here we see Old Faithful Geyser, which resides in the Upper Geyser Basin. This is Old Faithful right here. I am unsure if the hydrothermal changes are still taking place, but seismicity has increased, with some swarming occurring up near the Maple Creek-Hebgen Lake area the past few days, and a very short-lived spurt of quakes at the northern tip of Yellowstone Lake, which started at 6:04 UTC, November 9th, 2018, which, ever since daylight savings time ended, is also 11:04 p.m. Mountain Time, November 8th, 2018. Remember, UTC, which does not have daylight savings time, is a good few hours ahead of the time zones here in the United States. Perfect timing. Looks like Old Faithful is erupting. Awesome. Now, earthquake swarms that occur at Yellowstone Lake must be monitored closely, since that was the location of the last major dike intrusion event at Yellowstone. That is not what I think. That is actually proven by scientists as the most likely cause for the swarm. If you'd like to see the professional publication on the possible 2008-2009 dike intrusion at Yellowstone Lake, then please visit the link section in the description box below. Steamboat Geyser has also erupted for the 26th time, meaning that it only needs to erupt 4 more times to beat the record of 29 eruptions in 1 year, which occurred in 1964. In this video, I will first look at the very short-lived swarm north of Yellowstone Lake, and then show the small earthquake swarm that occurred near Maple Creek on November 8th, the large 6.8 earthquake that struck off the east coast of Greenland, and the 26th Steamboat eruption. I will also look at the recently reported Virginia earthquakes. Actually, let's do the Virginia earthquakes right now. This is looking like a good-sized eruption, guys. Woohoo! Pretty cool. Here we are in Virginia. Let me zoom in. You can obviously see Richmond, Virginia right there, and you can see 2 yellow dots just northwest of Richmond. Those are 2 earthquakes, guys. 2 of them. Very interesting. Within about 20 minutes of each other, the first earthquake was reportedly a magnitude 2.4 at 12.2 kilometers in depth at 1625 UTC, November 9th, 2018. It seems to have occurred just northwest of Richmond, where the second earthquake occurred as well. And it seems this list was just updated with the second earthquake. The second earthquake was a 2.5 at 9.5 kilometers in depth, just about 20 minutes or so after the 2.4. So let's check out the 2.4 real quick. Let's go to the event page and see how many people reported feeling it. Yeah, USGS has changed the event page a little bit. It actually makes my computer freeze. Alright, over 6 people have felt this earthquake. Now remember, guys, these are only the people that decided to report feeling this earthquake to USGS. That means probably many, many more people actually felt it, because, to be honest, not everybody reports feeling an earthquake to USGS. There's even a lot of people out there that don't even know you can report earthquakes, probably. So, let's go real quick, check. Let's go back. Let's go to the 2.5. Let's click on the 2.5 and see how many people felt that one. This one seems more interesting. The 2.5 that occurred at 9.5 kilometers in depth, which occurred 20 minutes after the original 2.4. Over 19 people felt it. Probably many more. I'm guessing maybe 50 to 100 people felt it. So yeah, it was a good-sized earthquake. 2 of them, actually. So let's real quick see the Did You Feel It map. Let's see if we can see. Let's turn on Did You Feel It? Did you feel it? There we go. So, mainly around the epicenter, people felt it, but there was someone all the way off to the coast that felt it too. So, it's pretty good-sized earthquake, guys. That's pretty interesting. And here we are at the IRIS MDA map, which is what you can use to, you search a network code and you can see exactly where the stations are. I use this almost as much as I use the seismic analysis programs. This helps me identify the networks and the stations and stuff like that. So the earthquake occurred right here. I was going to use any of these. I was going to use any of these right here. This one does not have any, even though it says it goes to 2599, the year 2599. Let me click here real quick. Notice how it says no data available in real-time systems for 2005 to 2599. That's ridiculous. And so I got a little frustrated, and I had to look up. It took me a good 10 minutes, actually, to find the closest seismic station. All of these stations right here, all of these do not have any data at all. I am pissed. I am ticked off. but I was able to find one that did show these events pretty well. It's this one right here. In network N4, the station code is R5-8B. Let's go back to Swarm real quick. And here we are on Swarm. I downloaded the data, for this event, R58B BHC in the network N4. So, the two earthquakes, let me see real quick. Oh no, where am I going? The two earthquakes, let's see, it happened at, man, come on, 1625 and 1645. So first we see 1625. It is this one right here. It's at the end of 1625. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Yeah, it definitely looks like a high-frequency tectonic earthquake. But the thing that I thought was weird is that there are no lower frequencies. Usually, when you're looking, I'm trying to talk very simple, guys. Usually when you're looking at a spectrogram, because you know how it shows the lowest frequency at the bottom and the highest frequency up on top? And you can manipulate this any way you want, usually. Some seismographs record only to 20 Hz, some record to 25 Hz, some record to 55 Hz. It all depends. But you can manipulate this any way you want. But the thing is there is a high pass 0.8 Hz filter, which means it will not show any frequencies or anything below 0.8 Hz. But that's only at this little tiny line down here. Yeah, I mean that's just the lowest line. But all the way up to almost 5 Hz, you don't really see much. It seems like the dominant, here, let me go into the spectra real quick. Let me show you the, look at this. Yeah, it's got some definite dominant high frequencies with barely any low frequencies at all, which I find is very odd. Especially look at the end tail of this, oh, whoops. Let me turn that back on. Look at the end tail of this earthquake. Usually when earthquakes occur, the end tail lowers, lowers in frequency, the coda, the end tail of an earthquake, always usually lowers in frequency. This one raised in frequency, which I thought was very, very peculiar. So, remember how it said 20 minutes later, at 1645, the second one occurred. Here's 1645. Here's the second earthquake. Let's zoom in on the P wave. There's the P wave right there. P wave is always when the earthquake starts. I'm going to say the P wave started right about there. But that's not what I'm looking at. Let's go over, if it'll go, there we go. Same thing, no low frequencies pretty much at all. The dominant frequencies remain in below 20 Hertz, but above 5 Hertz. Let's look at the spectra real quick. Log power, log frequency. Yeah, look at that. Dominant frequencies of, I'm going to say, 12 Hertz. I'm going to say that's about 12 Hertz or so. But no low frequencies, which is very, very peculiar. Let's turn these back on before going to the spectrogram. And yeah, and look at the coda of the earthquake, the end tail of the earthquake. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can get a better idea. Look at that. Notice this arc. Do you see this arc right here? This shows that as the earthquake ended, the frequencies rose. Isn't that weird? Usually you see the opposite. Let's say there's a spike in an earthquake right here. Pew! Let's say there's a spike. You'll see the end tail coda of the earthquake follow the mouse, and it'll go down like this, right? And the frequencies will lower. This is opposite. This is literally opposite. Yeah. Very, very weird. Very confusing, too, because I do not know what could cause something like that. And this shows the same exact thing, too. Now, I looked at some of the neighboring seismographs. This could be actually a third earthquake. I am unsure. But there weren't that many neighboring seismographs around the area, so I don't know. So that's it for the Virginia earthquakes. Now, why don't we go take a look at the recent earthquakes to occur at Yellowstone Lake. Here we are at Yellowstone National Park in Caldera, which is a supervolcano. They have reported a few earthquakes north of Yellowstone Lake. I'm not saying it's really much to be called a swarm, but usually a swarm is 5 earthquakes occurring within, what, 12-hour period? Right, is it 12 or 24 hours? It's 5 earthquakes occurring, I think, in a 12-hour period in one specific location. That's like the minimum to be a swarm. Well, these are 4 earthquakes. But as you're going to see in a second, there were more than 5. that's for sure. So we did have, but it's very short-lived, very small swarm up here. It didn't last longer than like 30 minutes, so it was very short-lived, but it's a very peculiar location. Remember, the dike intrusion of Yellowstone Lake in 2008-2009 occurred right here, right in the center part of the northern, what would you call that? The northern bay? I don't know. Okay, so let's look over. Oh, and there's also a lonely guy right here near Mayen Lake, I believe. I believe that's Mayen Lake. So it does seem they were probably able to locate probably about half the events or so. Please note something interesting. At least for the reported earthquakes, notice how when the swarm starts with the magnitude 0.2 at 4.6 kilometers in depth, see that? Here, let me scroll down a little bit. 0.2 at 4.6 kilometers in depth, another earthquake occurs at a larger magnitude and a shallower depth. Notice that? Now the same thing occurs with the next one, a much larger magnitude with a much shallower depth. Look at that. Now the cycle was kind of broken with the 0.6, but you could see, I just thought it was very interesting. I'm not saying it's anything, but I thought it was strange that the magnitudes rose along with the shallowing of the depths. Notice that? Bigger, bigger, shallower, shallower. Notice that? Very interesting. Now let's real quick look at some waveform data. Alright, here we are in the seismic program Waves. Real quick, before we dive into this program, I would like to use this to see how many earthquakes actually occurred during this short swarm north of Yellowstone Lake. Now, you may be asking, how do I do that? Well, I am very far from a real seismologist, but I do know what P&S waves are. If you want to be able to locate earthquakes, you must first understand the time difference between the P and S wave arrivals. I am not too great yet at locating S waves, so I am still unable to locate the exact location of earthquakes. However, I can successfully identify P waves, the wave that any seismic event shows first. Along with the neighboring seismic stations, I can confirm with some accuracy the amount of earthquakes within a given time period for a general location. Now, why would I do that, you say, if the earthquakes are reported by seismologists to the USGS? Well, that is because not every earthquake is reported, and whenever there are swarms, especially at Yellowstone, the actual number of earthquakes is much higher than the reported total. Now, this has to do with lack of well-defined P and S wave arrivals, but some earthquakes clearly are strong enough to be reported, and at least somewhat accurately located, so we can just shrug. Now, the stations I'm going to be using for the seismic analysis, guys, is going to be, first, borehole 208, which is right here on the northern tip of Yellowstone Lake, probably the closest station to this event. Same with LKWY. LKWY is also the second station I will use. It's literally pretty much right on top of borehole 208. Borehole 950 was also another one I was going to use, which is, nope, that's borehole 207. Whoops. This is borehole 950 up here in Norris. YLA, which is right here to the right on the east coast of Yellowstone Lake, and YMC, which is far up here. So let's go through. Let me real quick go to Swarm just so I can figure this out. Let me go to File, Ben Study Folder. Come on, Q website. That is not what I wanted. I should go to Yellowstone. And open this real quick. Go to, let me see. Okay, so here are the quakes. Let me do a high pass 0.8 hertz filter. Okay, so it started at 6:04 and ended at 6:15. Okay, so about 10 minutes. It didn't last longer than 10 minutes, guys. It was very short, but we're going to see how many earthquakes actually occurred within this time period. We can obviously see one right there, obviously. We could see a second one right there as well, but they did not report that one. They only reported the first one right here. Let's go forward. It appears there were two more events. See, secondary increase in energy and another increase in energy. I don't know what these two events are in the middle, but you can obviously tell they showed up on surrounding stations, just barely though. Let's move forward. So there were two we saw there. Surrounding stations show there is an increase of energy right here, so that's 3. And there's an increase of energy right here. Let's zoom in. Yep, there's 4. So we're already to 4. Let's go forward. Aha, here's 5. And looks like surrounding stations, especially YLA, is showing an increase in energy right here. Definitely teeny tiny microquake, but you can see it did occur. So we have 6. I believe that is 6 now, right? Yep, we got 6. Don't know what that is. I'm going to say maybe 7. Let's just say this is 7, because it's showing on YLA. Go forward, and that's it. So they were able to locate the majority of them. Definitely. Well, that is it for the program Waves. So we saw a total of probably about 7 earthquakes. And as you can see, they showed on seismic stations a good distance away. Remember, they only reported 4 earthquakes for this swarm. Now let's real quick back out and go to the program Swarm. Now real quick before I show LKWY and the earthquakes that occurred during this swarm, they remember how there was one lonely earthquake off to the west, possibly near Mayen Lake. Well, I'm pretty sure it occurred right near Mayen Lake. But right before the earthquake, though, and this is YML, by the way, which is the one for Mayen Lake, there was some interesting emergent events. 2 of them. There's one right there, a smaller one, and a bigger one right here. Don't know what that could be. Let's look at the spectrogram. Mid-range frequencies. Could be surface noise, but I'm not sure on that one. Here is the earthquake, the lonely earthquake. It almost looks like there could be 2. Let's take a look a little bit closer. That's very interesting. There should not be an increase of energy right there. Let's zoom out. There could be a second earthquake. 2 occurring at the same time? Maybe. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying maybe. And notice the end tail. Now remember with the Virginia earthquakes how as time went along and their tails, their coda diminished, how the frequencies went higher? Look at this. This is a typical earthquake. Notice how it spikes and then it goes down in frequency. Notice that? It curves downward. That's what we should see with earthquakes. That's what we should always see. We shouldn't see the ones raising in frequency at the end, which I find is very, very peculiar. So let's check out the spectra real quick of this one earthquake that occurred near Mayen Lake. And dominant frequencies below 5 Hz with some spikes at, I'm going to say 6.5 Hz to about 7.5 Hz, I'm guessing. Now let me go back to the waveforms. Amplitude count does not go beyond 2000, so it is consistent with about a 0.5, I'm saying. Here we are at station LKWY, data for the station LKWY. I added a 0.8 high pass filter so that all the frequencies below 0.8 Hz are not being shown. This is done so that it doesn't look crazy. Here, let me do an example real quick. Let me take it off. Come on. Let me press enabled, okay? Notice how wavy everything looks. There's no filter. This is unfiltered. Now, let me do high pass, enabled, 0.8. Notice how it looks more like a quote-unquote short period station now. It looks straighter. Well, this is what I like to see. Okay, so starting off with this event, we saw some very, very peculiar background. I'm not going to say background tremor, but I don't know what this was. It's going to about 50 amplitude count, so it's very tiny, very teeny tiny. But the dominant frequencies are definitely below 5 Hz, and it looks almost exactly like the tremor that's occurring at Veniaminoff right now. I'm not saying that it is, obviously, because it's not really showing much on surrounding stations. It's only showing on the seismic stations that reside on the northern part of Yellowstone Lake, which is YLA, LKWY, and borehole 208. So here's the first earthquake, the first 2. Let me do the spectrogram first. You can see they're definitely high-frequency earthquakes. But they look very peculiar. They look very odd. And then it goes along. Let's see, here's the start of the second one. And it looks like this one. Check this out. It looks like this one actually was building. That is very interesting. Look at that. And then we're going to go over here. Move over. And here's the other earthquake. And here's another earthquake. That was probably unreported. I think the one at 612 they did report. And notice again the coda, the end tail of the earthquake, goes down with time. The frequencies drop with time. That is normal. That is what we should see. Not like the Virginia earthquakes. And here's another normal earthquake. So we did have a quick swarm at Yellowstone Lake. But it barely qualifies as a swarm. Barely. Just by the skin of its teeth. So let me go through them once again. Here they are. Yep, seeing some interesting stuff right in the middle. Yep. See, notice how the frequency drops and the end tail of the earthquake? Notice that? Let's go to spectrogram. Notice how the frequency drops at the end of the earthquake. That is usually what happens with earthquakes. Frequencies usually do not rise when an earthquake is ending. Usually not. They usually drop. So that's it for LKWY. And just for a heads up, here is borehole 208, which shows this low-level vibration the strongest. And notice, see that bar down at the bottom? See, it's pretty much consistent, and it was like this last year. So it's been going on for quite a while, but right here, it seems to build. Notice up here, it's at about 20 amplitude count. Notice as I go down throughout the day, this quote-unquote background tremor, which now, to me, looks just like the tremor that's occurring at Veniaminoff. I'm not saying it's just tremor, guys. I'm not saying this is related to magma. I'm just saying it's very similar to what I have seen at Veniaminoff. Very similar, except the amplitude here at Yellowstone is very, very small. But look at that. Look at that, guys. That is a little too odd to me to be just waves from the lake, which some people would probably say it could be. That was pretty interesting. This very short-lived swarm was extremely intriguing to me, and it makes me wonder if more swarms are headed for the location. Remember, this is just north of the 2008-2009 dike intrusion at Yellowstone Lake, which is one of the most fascinating events I have ever had the privilege to study. If any of you would like any data pertaining to the 2008-2009 event, please let me know. It has been a decade, minus 1 month or so, since this took place, but if it happened once, it most likely will happen again. Now let's take a look at the 26th Steamboat geyser eruption and the seismic trace that it created. Just a heads up, the rest of this video will be about things I talked about in my recent blog posts. So if you have already seen the blog post about the 26th Steamboat geyser eruption, the seismicity for the Maple Creek area on November 8th, and the post about the magnitude 6.8 earthquake at Jan Mayen Island, the rest of this video will be old news to you. So for you, if you've seen those 3 blog posts, this video is over. But please stick around if you have not seen those blog posts. Remember, there is a parts section in the description box below if you wish to skip to a certain part. The 26th Steamboat geyser eruption of 2018 is confirmed. Here is Y&M. Let me read the beginning. Steamboat Geyser in the Norris Geyser Basin has officially erupted for the 26th time. The all-time record was achieved in 1964 when it erupted 29 times. We are approaching the end of the year, but if these eruptions continue at near the same pace, then it will beat the record by the time the year ends. The 26th eruption occurred at 23:16 UTC on November 7th, 2018, which is also 4:16 p.m. Mountain Time, November 7th, 2018. Below are the 2 helicorder images of this event, along with 2 3-plot analysis images. Please always read chart labels first. Now, YNM felt this eruption the strongest. YNR felt it second, and Borehole 950 did not feel this event at all. Why? The vibrations you see are most likely only surface vibrations of this event, not the vibrations from the free flow of superheated water leading to an eruption. For proof of this, please click here. And guys, please come to this blog post and please click here if you wish to see my proof for that theory. Let me go down real quick. Here is the 2 analysis images right here. Now, there really isn't much else information. I didn't really type much because there really wasn't much to talk about. Here is YNM. Here are the seismogram spectrogram spectral plots for YNM. 01 HHZ in the WY network, which is in the Norris Geyser Basin. Notice it goes to about, I'm going to say, 65,000 amplitude count, I'm going to say. Because that's 40,000, that's 60,000. I'm going to say about 65,000, so it was not as strong as the 25th eruption. Now, the 25th Steamboat eruption was extremely strong. Very strong, guys. Here are the frequency ranges. It goes up to 50 hertz. And notice the dominant frequencies are below 40 hertz. There's a spike right behind 40 hertz. But the main frequencies, the strongest frequencies, are about 35 hertz or so. Now let's go down. Again, YNR barely showed this event at all. Barely. Notice it only goes to about 170 amplitude count, I'm going to say, with the top spike right there. You can see the spectrogram right here going up to 50 hertz. Dominant frequencies are ranging all throughout the area, so It pretty much was an all-frequency event. Now let's real quick take a look at the seismicity for the Maple Creek Hebgen Lake area at Yellowstone for November 8th, 2018. Again, here is the seismic trace for the 26th Steamboat eruption. It could be breaking its record this year, guys. November 8th, 2018, Yellowstone seismicity. Sorry guys, there is a typo right there I will fix tonight. I hate typos. I try so hard not to have any typos, because personally when I see typos in other people's blog posts or articles, it kind of frustrates me. I mean, it's not frustrating me that they did that, it's one of my pet peeves, you know? So, starting at about 1:43 UTC, November 8th, 2018, which is also 6:43 p.m. Mountain Time, November 7th, 2018, there was another increase in seismicity near the Maple Creek Hebgen Lake area. It was a swarm of about 10 earthquakes or so, and many were very small. The University of Utah and USGS did report 6 of these earthquakes, so they were able to locate the majority of them. These earthquakes occurred between 9.8 kilometers and 12 kilometers in depth. This blog post will simply show plots and helicorders of this small swarm. As you can see in the image right here I'm showing, there were 6 earthquakes reported for the swarm, with 4 other earthquakes occurring far to the north. I believe there are 3 that occurred to the north, and just 1 to the west-southwest. Below are the helicorders for the 3 closest stations to the swarm, YMC, YHH, and YGC. YGC you'll never find anybody using because it is pretty much an obscure seismic station, but you can still find seismic data for it. It is not on the University of Utah seismograph website. I'm pretty sure I've looked for it. I can't find it. And it's not on isthisthing.org either. It is only in the seismic database. And yes, I can create helicorders for the station for you if you wish. I'm pretty much probably the only one doing this for YGC, which is right near Maple Creek Hebgen Lake area. And you can see the earthquakes there. There's YHH. Not many showed up very well. Now remember, not every spike you see is a little tiny microquake. Some of them are, yes. When you zoom in, some of them are. But also, when you zoom in and look at them and look at their actual waveforms, they are electronic issues sometimes. Let's go to YMC. You can see most of the earthquakes here for YMC. Alright, here's the first one right here. Below, including this image right here, are the seismogram, spectrogram, spectral plots of most of the earthquakes to occur for this earthquake swarm. Remember to always read chart labels first. That goes for every single type of chart or graph you ever see in life, not just for seismology. Also, please pay attention to any captions you see beneath any images. All plots below are generated by myself using the seismic program Swarm and data from seismic station YMC, unless otherwise specified. For this image right here, this was the first earthquake that was reported for this swarm, at least so far. It was reportedly a magnitude 0.2 earthquake at 11.3 kilometers in depth. The amplitude count is consistent with a magnitude of this size. Dominant frequencies below 10 Hz, with the strongest frequency being about 4.9 Hz. And see how this line right here is the 5 Hz line right before it? That's about 4.9 Hz. Let's go down to this one right here. Here is the second reported earthquake, and it was reportedly a magnitude -0.0 and 9.8 kilometers in depth. Now, I believe it is more like a 0.1, but it's close enough. Dominant frequencies are below 12 Hz, once again, with the strongest spike being around 4.9 Hz, again. Now, check this out, guys. Some of these earthquakes are identical. They are very, very identical. Now, here, this was the next reported earthquake and was a magnitude 1.6 at 10.8 kilometers in depth. You can also see an unreported negative magnitude earthquake at the end of the plot, right here. Once again, guys, dominant frequencies remain below 12 Hz, with the strongest frequency being about, you guessed it, 4.9 Hz. These earthquakes in this swarm are very, very identical to each other. This earthquake here was reported to be a magnitude 1.3 at 12 kilometers in depth. Now, notice dominant frequencies again remain below 12 Hz with, again, I have to keep saying again, once again, the strongest frequency being about 4.9 Hz, which is a very specific frequency for it to be dominant in all the earthquakes. Isn't that weird? To me, I don't know what that means, guys. I have no idea what that means. But it has to mean something. I mean, that's very specific. very specific frequency that it is showing. And a lot of the spectral plots look very identical to one another, which I found was odd. This earthquake was reported to be a magnitude 0.9 at 11 kilometers in depth. Notice the same pattern continues again, with dominant frequencies below 12 Hz, with the strongest frequencies, or the strongest frequency being 4.9 Hz. Now this was the last reported earthquake for this swarm, at least for right now. It was a magnitude 1.3 earthquake at 11.0 kilometers in depth. Once again, we see dominant frequencies below 12 Hz, with the strongest frequency being about 4.9 Hz again. Again, guys. Yeah, again. That is weird. That is very weird. These earthquakes really seem identical in almost every way. Now, one person on another YouTube channel somewhere out there was saying, oh, all these earthquakes are just explosions. Okay, explain to me how they're showing up halfway across the park. Plus, they wouldn't be doing explosions. Okay, guys, if you're going to see an explosion, I mean, it's sort of difficult to tell between an earthquake and explosion, but the distance factor, usually the frequency is lowered dramatically over just a short distance. Also, with explosions that occur on the surface, like in a quarry or a mine or whatever, usually explosions contain only surface waves. And you could tell these earthquakes are not just surface waves, But regardless, these earthquakes seem very identical to one another. Seriously, come check out this blog post and compare the spectral plots. Now, this is a spectral plot, guys. So come compare them. It's very, very intriguing. Now let's real quick check out the magnitude 6.8 earthquake that recently occurred off the east coast of Greenland, right next to Jan Mayen Island. By the way, we're still on my website, on my Seismo blog, but I clicked on the article link that says magnitude 6.8 earthquake near Greenland and Jan Mayen Island. A very interesting earthquake just struck off the east coast of Greenland, north of Iceland. It occurred just 75 miles, 120 kilometers, west of Jan Mayen Island. It was a magnitude 6.8 earthquake at reportedly 10.0 kilometers in depth, and it occurred at 1:49 UTC, November 9th, 2018, which is also 5:49 p.m. Pacific Time, 6:49 p.m. Mountain Time, November 8th, 2018. I will show seismic helicopters and plots of this event. But as you can see in the image shown right here, this earthquake occurred in a very peculiar location. Of course, earthquakes do happen here from time to time, but we really don't see large earthquakes occurring near this area very often. So it's definitely very interesting. Plus, so far, I haven't seen many aftershocks, which I think is pretty weird. Now, this is just a zoomed-in look at the location of this event. The red circle is where the magnitude 6.8 occurred, and the red star is where seismic station JMIC is located. The seismic code for JMIC is NO JMIC 00HHZ. For the helicorder and seismic plots shown below, I will use station JMIC, the instrument closest to this event, and station MCID, which as you probably know resides at Yellowstone National Park in Caldera. The following are the helicorders showing this large earthquake. Here's JMIC, which resides on Jan Mayen Island. Showed it very strong. Very, very strong. Let's go down real quick to MCID. Here's MCID at Yellowstone, which as you know is thousands of miles away. Still showed it very strong. Let's go down real quick. Okay, this is interesting. The following seismogram, spectrogram, spectral plots were generated by myself using seismic program Swarm and data retrieved from stations JMIC and MCID. Remember to always read chart labels first before looking at the data. I wish everyone would do that. Seriously. It doesn't even take that long. You just look at the chart labels first and then read the data. This is for station JMIC, which resides on the island of Jan Mayen. Even though this station was close to this event, it showed some rather strong low frequencies. I am surprised that an earthquake of this size showed such low frequencies just 75 miles from the epicenter. I found that very peculiar. I mean, it's not a low frequency earthquake, but to me the dominant frequencies look like it's below 5 Hz. I mean, seriously, look at the spectral plot. And I understand this station is somewhat far away, 75 miles, which is 120 kilometers. That's a good distance. But still, I don't know. It should not show this strong low frequencies. It should be up here about 10 to 15 hertz, guys. Shouldn't be down here near around 1 to 2 hertz and 5 hertz. Now here are the seismic plots for station M6.8 at Yellowstone. Yep, this event was pretty strong. So far I have seen no aftershocks as of yet, which is quite peculiar, but it is too soon to tell if that will remain. So just the one 6.8, I don't think I've ever heard of pretty much a 7.0 occurring without any foreshocks or aftershocks. Just that one? That's it? I don't know, that's very weird. And it has lower frequencies than what we would see. Huh. Who knows? You know, if anything else major occurs, I will update you. So that is it for now, guys. If anything else changes and swarms keep appearing at Yellowstone, I will keep you updated. However, please remember there are many more threats than just Yellowstone. Long Valley actually just saw an increase in seismicity, which I will try to mention in my next video. Guys, real quick, I will leave some links in the description box below, especially to the 2008-2009 dike intrusion of Yellowstone Lake, a publication to that, and also Scott's new channel called the NW Geology Guy, the Northwest Geology Guy. It's going to be a good channel. You guys should really go check it out. Go subscribe to his channel. He's got some good information, guys. I'm excited to see how his channel will grow. Also, please, here, let me see if I can open it. As long as it doesn't freeze on me. As long as it doesn't freeze. My computer's been very slow today. So please also come to Digiduit's channel. Digiduit. D-I-G-I-D-U-I-T. Please come to his channel and click on the video Paradise, California Attack Proof Here. Now, usually I'm very skeptical about things like this, but you should really see the things that he is seeing. Very intriguing, very compelling. Really, guys, I suggest you go to his channel and look at Paradise, California Attacked Proof Here. And I'm actually going to be looking at the seismic data for the rest of the day today, trying to see if I can see any type of activity at all correlating with multiple surrounding seismic stations to see if something really was occurring that was... I'm not talking about volcanic eruption. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anything that is not just a wildfire. I don't know. It's very intriguing. I was very skeptical at first, but wow. He's got some really good points in here. So please go check his channel and this video out too. Now, it also seems like Steamboat Geyser will make 2018 the year of the Steamboat eruptions. It has been erupting almost once a week, and it only needs to erupt 4 more times to beat the record. If so, 2018 will go down in history. Well, unless Steamboat beats the 2018 record by continuing this pattern throughout 2019. Also, that 6.8 north of Iceland off the east coast of Greenland was very interesting. I am surprised I have not seen any aftershocks. Just the one 6.8 and that's it? Very odd. Seismicity does seem to be gradually increasing at Yellowstone after a period of lull over the past few months. Where will this lead? Only God knows. Please stay safe out there, guys, and let me know if you ever see anything weird in the sky. Weird stuff has been going on the past few years all around the globe, and it seems to be increasing. Please keep your heads on a swivel and keep your family close, regardless of if you think something is coming or not. Family is the most important because they will always be there for you. God bless, and remember the truth is considered hate or fear to those who hate or fear the truth. Ben Ferraiuolo, signing off. See you later, guys.